Alright guys, so I'm going to do a review of one of my favorite comic book series, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. This is a lot of fun. This is from the creator, this was written and drawn by Jonan Vasquez, who most of you guys would know best for his work on Invader Zim. Now this was his work prior to Invader Zim. This is what apparently, and I still don't know the thought process for him, but apparently Nickelodeon looked at Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and said, we should get this guy to do an animated series for us. Thus we got Invader Zim. Anyway, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac may have the same style to Invader Zim, but it is a lot darker. And for Invader Zim it was dark, but this comic just takes it to 11. The story is about a character known as Johnny C, who is a mentally unstable young man who goes around killing people who are incredibly detestable. Basically, he's that inner. Johnny is the representation. I just totally butchered that word. He's the living embodiment, basically, of what you want to do to every little asshole you've ever come across and horribly mangle them. This is an incredibly gory comic. It's also not too... It doesn't look on the bright... Well, it actually has an optimistic tone to it. Johnny, despite being a horribly psychotic character, is pretty likable. He has his own sense of jokes, he has his own sense of insecurities, and he has a very much character development to him. That's what I like about this comic, is that it's not just gore. There is gore sometimes for the sake of gore, but for other times, he's actually a pretty... Johnny, you feel sorry for Johnny, because he's trapped in his own mind, and the only way he can... he can honestly, protect himself is killing people. And he's actually trying to protect the world in some aspects, because he's trying to stop this thing behind the wall by feeding it blood. And who better than to kill horrible people? In this comic, we follow Johnny, and we follow him literally to hell and back. Jonan Vasquez apparently was playing a joke on the whole death and resurrection of characters, and he did that for Johnny later on, where Johnny went to both heaven and hell, and saw the representations of heaven and hell. Didn't really like what he saw. Anyway, Johnny, throughout this series, it's a very connected story, and it's also very dialogue-y. There's actually, you'd think, oh, I'm gonna stab you because I'm psycho. No, actually, there's some really interesting dialogue in here. Jonan Vasquez really writes some... This is a very dialogue-y comic. Like, there are times where this feels like a Bendis comic, but in a, it's a very makes you think kind of way. Bendis does that too sometimes, but Jonan Vasquez does that for a character that, once again, is a homicidal maniac. And he makes you think. That's the cool part. He makes you think on a lot of stuff. Like, there's a cool story that really makes you think on the whole ambiguity of it all, of Johnny encountering a man that, I believe insulted him, and he's going to horribly kill him, and he's actually pretty cool with this, and Johnny befriends him before he kills him. We also have a few other people that Johnny encounters, such as Squee, who... I've never read the Squee spin-off. We also have Devi, his supposed love interest, who he tries his best to apologize to her at all, because he tried to kill her. I've never read the I Feel Sick two-parter. So, yeah. I've only read this and the little spin-offs, little minis it has in here throughout the comic, such as Happy Noodle Boy, which is... oh, Happy Noodle Boy. That is a barrel of laughs right there. Johnny is also a very fun comic. There is some great lines in here. There's some great humor in here. I have to also acknowledge that, yes, this comic is not for everyone. This is a comic that is not for kids. I cannot recommend this for a younger audience. If you're of the right age, then yeah, take this as you will. If you're a fan of Invader Zim, then I do recommend this, because here's the thing. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac only had a cult following. It didn't even have a big following when it first came out. It didn't get really popular until Invader Zim came out, and then people started to go back and look at Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and that's kind of where it got its popularity. more so. It also kind of leaves it an open-ended ending, really. Because Johnny just kind of, after everything, he just kind of leaves. And it's kind of just very open-ended. And I always kind of wish John Vasquez would go back to, would finish Johnny's story in some way. Because here's the thing. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac only went on for, I believe, 7 issues. It's like a 7-part story. And it's very... it's told through little comic strips, and it's told through big issues as well. Almost a little disconnected, but in the same way it's connected at the same point. I can't really explain it, honestly. It's really hard to explain on that front. But anyway, this is a comic that is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Johnny, again, even though he's a horrible you should hate him. You should hate him, but you can't, because you pity him. You feel sorry for him, because he's kind of trapped in his own little world. And you do feel like, yeah, these people he runs into are, they need to die. They're not like they're again, Johnny's that fun representation of the representation. Yeah, I can't say that word apparently. He's the cool embodiment of that thought in the back of your head of like, God, I want to throw this guy through a wall or something. He's that cool. He's like that cool embodiment, as the foreword once said. It's again very graphic. It's also fun, and it can also have its awe moments. Yeah, a comic book that that makes you root for. I can't say Johnny's the bad guy. And the thing is about Johnny, you don't know a lot about him. And I like that. I like that in here you don't know a lot about Johnny. Johnny C is a very open-ended character in and of himself. There's a lot of unexplained questions, and I think that works in the comic's favor, because I think if you found out more about Johnny's origin, it might be a little because it's a very open, it's again very up in the air kind of thing. We don't know about Johnny's parents or anything like that. But at the same time, I think you don't want to. That's the kind of thing. I never was like, man, I wish they explained the origin of Johnny. I was never like that at all. So yeah, once again, I can't recommend this for a younger audience, but absolutely if you're old enough, I'd say go ahead, buy this. This is a lot of fun. Again, if you were a fan of Invader Zim, you haven't read this, highly recommend it. Just go in with an open mind that this comic is very bloody. I mean, very bloody. I mean, there are some people who get horribly killed in here, or horribly mangled. And it does have a little depressing. It is kind of depressing at points, but at the same time, towards the end, it actually has a very optimistic ending for the most part. So yeah. Anyway, once again, I hope you all enjoyed this review, and yeah, I'm out.